No. Okay, yeah. So here we are. The Inspired journey has been deep, and I appreciate everyone. Each step of the way we co-create it. Going from whimsical well-being to presence and processing, poetry of purpose, and this session on our larger connection. We can think about larger connection. Obviously, the first thing I think of is like people like Anitra and Isa, people like all of you that are on this call that I honestly, every week, I just have been so inspired to have space with all of you. This is what it's really all about. I really see it that each of us has our individual journey around mental health, and we have our collective journey. And when we think about larger connection, there's something beyond that we're all connected to. The other part of larger connection that I think is really amazing is actually this reconnection within. And some of the work of the Sphinx Institute, of the Inspire program, is really about how we befriend our inner child. How do we meet ourselves with who we are, knowing that, even though childhood technically has ended, obviously in this cohort, some of us are, we have children who share our lives. We're in roles as educators, in extended family, we're connected and supporting children. But everything, connects back into who we are and, how we connect with our own childhood. And I just want to start off our closing here with two things for you. The first is a quote from the book The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. And it goes, "We sat there, side by side, on the old wooden bench, not saying anything. I thought about adults. I wondered if it was true, if they were all really children wrapped in adult bodies, like children's books hidden in the middle of dull, long books, the kind with no pictures or conversations." So I want to invite you. I know I put this out in our email. You're probably like, what? Like, if you were able to upload a picture of yourself as a kid, as your Zoom, picture, I want us to take a chance here to turn our video off, invite our little kid self into the Zoom circle, and I'll be sharing a poem to all of our inner childs here, children, inner us. And no worries if you weren't. What we're gonna do is just having a chance to just to even reconnect, see what image comes up to you when you think about your kid self. It could be from any age. But if you're willing to, let's see if we have any other ones. This is my first day of school. Uh, and you can just see all of our kid selves having a chance to meet. And I want to read you a poem that's dedicated to each of our inner selves. Ah, thanks, Roddy. Yeah. Okay. And here's how it goes. It's called A Blessing for a New Year by Kayleen Asbo. As the hours of darkness begin to slowly wane from the winter sky, so too may the fearful places of your heart unclench their grasp on your life. As the presence of light begins to grow with greater sureness with each passing day, may your own courage blossom to open more brightly to truth and love. Let this be the year that you turn off the television and silence the talk radio chatter in order to pick up the writing pen, the paintbrush, and watch the candles slowly burn. May this be the year that you delight in seeing how much joy you can extravagantly spread. May you discover just how much beauty you can recklessly shower upon this thirsty world. May this be the year that you tune both the dusty piano in the corner and the inner listening of your careworn heart, so that both can play in harmony with the chorus of creation. May you break the invisible yardstick of impossible expectations and learn that just as you are enough. May this be the year that you cease trying to march to an imagined ideal and instead wrap your arms around the messy wonder your life really is. Hold it close and do the tango. Let this be the year you befriend your soul in its radical particularity, not forsaking it yet again for the bland demands and cravings of the masses. Instead, may you elope with the wildness of your own true calling, marry your soul to its deepest longings, and invite the hungry world to the wedding feast. I offer this poem to all of our inner child is in gratitude for everything that each of us has within us, all of the playfulness, the inner wisdom of childhood, the imagination, our capacity to be resilient, everything that we can tap back into that are the qualities not only of the wisdom of childhood, but the qualities of transformative education change makers. And I invite you, when you're ready, to come back on screen. For this week, the invitation was to put together a letter to ourselves. And it could have been to your first year teacher self. It could have been to a new teacher. You know, in some ways, I think of this as a self-love letter. And what I wanted to ask, you know, it's going to be a little different than the other weeks. I'm not going to be putting up, you know, each of our exemplars on a PowerPoint. Those letters were for you, and you know, I'm grateful that you shared them because I see it as a collective of everyone's together. But what I want to ask the group is if anything comes up for you from obviously that poem, from the letter to yourself, the wisdom that you're connecting back into, you know, that you're reminded of from going through this journey together through Inspire. And feel free to share however you wish. If it's a piece of your letter, if it's something that just popped up that's alive on your heart right now, we're just going to take a few moments here to reflect and see, what's coming forward, what's alive in us that's coming through, that's inspired.
I'm just gonna go really quickly, but that poem really, like, I felt it in my heart. Like, it really, like, pulled at my heartstrings. Just because, like, I could just imagine myself. I seen like my younger self, but also my like where I want to be. When I my younger self, it kind of like the image transcended into like an older version of me. But I first seen myself as a kid when I was just young and wild and free, running through large fields of grass with sticky brows and getting hurt, but still like wanting to have fun and just being so like outdoorsy and wild. And that's still how I see myself. Like when I see myself as a older person, like when the vision transcended into myself as an older, like, as me, it was like, I was just a older version of myself, but I was still in the field, with the dress, like shoes off, just connecting with nature. Um, like, yeah, that's just what it reminded me of. And I just love that.
I just want to say overall, I think these sessions came at a really just perfect time. As I get older, and especially like this week, I've just felt um, like there's just a lot of loss. I guess it feels like I don't know. We had some prominent figures transition this week, and it's like, oh wow, there goes like a lot of big pieces of some of our childhood that left with them, and it's just I think I wrote this somewhere, but I'm just constantly reminded of like how fragile life is, and more often than I want to be, I think. Um, so that first session where you're just talking about like if you don't have humor, you might not make it through that just mentally, has just kind of turned on a light bulb for me. So since then, I think it's just a way to um I don't know, kind of guard ourselves against some of like the harsher aspects of losing people in specific. Um, but also there have been so many parts of this that have just been really helpful in terms of putting me in the right mindset for, again, just working with teenagers who really just need love and care.
I'll jump in. So I just had a couple of thoughts. So I also feel like these sessions came at a really good time, just helping me be able to the intersection between what I do, the work that I do in mental health, and then the whimsical and being present, and just how it just falls in line, and then even our conversations and our interactions, and then finding commonalities within that without us even knowing what's going on in each other's lives from week to week has been very inspiring, and it lets me know that we all have more in common than we don't, and we don't always realize that until we have these like-minded conversations with each other. Also, in regards to the letter, I wrote one to my first year teacher self, and I was glad I was able to do that because it helped me be able to reflect on my journey, and I don't often give myself enough credit for my journey until somebody turns the mirror and be like, "Hey, you got to also, look at where you've come from too." I'm always building up others. I have to give myself a pat on the back sometime. And looking back at that, using that letter and being gentle with myself, and letting myself know, almost that it gets greater later almost, and to keep pushing through that journey ties into how I am as an individual anyway. And being able to see that and then being like, wow, I was able to persevere through so much because I've been able to look back and be reflective. And these sessions have helped me do that and also be very present in the moment. Well, thank you all.
Yeah, I would like to second that. Everything that you just said and everything that Ronnie said as well. Because one of the things I wrote in the letter is like, there's nothing more important than a whole and complete self. Um, and I think a lot of times, I don't want to generalize it. I was praised for being selfless. Like, oh, you're such a good daughter. Or like, oh, you're such a good teacher. Every time I would give of myself. And I just didn't want to get so far gone to where I was looking back and I'm like, dang, I don't have anything for myself, you know? And so I feel like that's a lot of what I wrote in the letter, like, and all the good stuff that you do, carve out some life for you, you know? And it kind of alludes to what Ronnie said, like, I don't know, just like losing people who were close to me. It was like the worst thing, but it was also like the best thing. Cause like it reminds you to live, you know, death is not always a bad thing. And so that's kind of what I emphasize. Like now I want to live, I want to do stuff. I want to stand under waterfalls.
I'll piggyback right off of that. I couldn't find a picture of myself in my as a kid. There's like three that I think about, but I couldn't locate it. And to be honest, I mourned during the poem that you were reading because as a kid, I really did not give myself freedom. Um, I was born in a really strict religious home, and I was kind of chasing perfection and didn't want to let anybody down. And so, if I juxtapose that to now, how I want to raise my daughter, the place and space that I am in my life is just, a period of liberation and freedom. And so this is an opportunity to recreate, some of that childhood and childlike joy. So I love listening to Aaliyah because there's something freeing about your voice and how interact with the world right now. And you guys have just been just really such a blessing. So that's my thought.
Thank you. And I know uh, that poem, it's, again, this intersection of the realness, it's where, our hearts, I just have felt that been this biggest theme is just, let's be honest, let's be real. That's probably the most refreshing, liberating thing for not only our mental health, but just our own and our collective liberation. And I love this quote by Pablo Picasso. The first half of life is learning to be an adult. The second half of life is learning to be a child. And I just feel all of us have different walks. It's incredibly sad to know that most adults are either working through their childhood trauma in therapy, or maybe a couple of moments or days away from having that awareness where it's time to start working on some of the things that we all went through. And I think that's some of the motivation of why the group here came together to see that we have a lot of commonality in having mental health really be foundational to what education is all about. And it's not just a concept or a topic, but something that we each in our own ways are dedicating our lives to. And it's just the way we walk, how we live, who we are. I think that, to me, it's just inspiring. I have so much gratitude for each of you, for Anitra and Isa joining us today. I think one of my important shout outs, was just thinking about where does Inspire, the Swing Set Institute, where does this come from? And I have appreciation for my own walk, my own story, and how it's connected generationally. And I'm just so grateful to my parents, my mom and dad. I don't know if I told you all, but at some point they were both clowns. My dad was the hype clown for my mom. It's all coming together now. It's like, oh yeah. Like, where does all this whimsicalness come from? Like, what is it? And there's something about it's not just superfluous, it's not just goofiness, it's really through resilience, through a lot. And my family history, I bet, everyone on this call, we have stories of just overcoming everything to even get here today to where we are. So I do have an appreciation. I have a deep gratitude for my parents' resilient spirit because they had very, very tough childhoods and somehow ended up being, a clown duo and, put family first with very low income, like very challenging situation and in ways that I feel like is just I'm trying to figure out how to keep sharing love that my parents have shown me. And their stories inspire me because they didn't have that love. And somehow, there's an alchemy to that pain where, there is a transformative capacity, that we can be there for others in ways that we did not receive. That might be one of the most inspiring possibilities of all time. And I'm just grateful for all of you. And thank you so much for sharing your hearts and parts of your stories, on this 4-week adventure together. More to come because, this is in a lot of ways the beginning. And, it's going to be exciting to see what's next for all of us. And I got to make sure to remember. Aha, I remembered. Okay, I'm going to stop this recording now.